Frack on. Welcome to an episode of Frack The Canon. I am joined by the coolest motherfuckers around. I'm joined by the co-host with the most, all the way from Milwaukee. It is Mr. CJ McCree. How
That's
you doing, sir?
Milwaukee, also known as the Good Land.
Isn't that a joke from Wayne's World?
So, do you come to Milwaukee often?
Well, I'm a regular visitor here, but Milwaukee has certainly had its share of visitors. The French missionaries and explorers were coming here as early as the late 1600s to trade with the Native Americans.
In fact, isn't Milwaukee an Indian name?
Yes, Pete, it is. Actually, it's pronounced Miliwake, which is Algonquin for the good land.
It is. Now I haven't actually. First of all, I know for a fact that the second part of that is true. It is that is what they say is Algonquin. Now I don't know if that is. I don't know that if that part's true. I'm just gonna give it to him, maybe, right? Because it is a Native American word for the good land. But I'm just gonna give it to him. I haven't done the research whether it's A, Algonquin, or B, was originally pronounced Milwaukee. I don't know. Yes, that is a joke from there.
That very much sounds like how Yucatan came to be in Mexico. It's like the colonizer came up and they're like, "Where are we? What land is this?" And the Mayan said, "Yucatan," which is either I don't understand what you're saying, or look at how they listen to them, how they speak, or yeah, and one of those two. But that's how you got. They're like, "Where are we?" It's like, "Where are we?" Yucatan, which means I don't understand you, or look how you speak. And so that state is now called Yucatan.
It's amazing. That's amazing.
This might not make it into the show. This might make you a little side.
Listen, like, it's a good banter, I think, too, though. But also a good lesson for anybody watching. Listen, and pay attention in history class.
From the native people. I've been calling some people colonizer lately at the bar I go to. I'm like, "What's up, colonizer?"
Don't go too crazy. All right, you're gonna make it worse for the next generation after us. All right.
Wakanda forever.
Can't get enough of those though.
Okay, so
Creed's coming out. So, Creed's coming out. Speaking of Wakanda forever, and Creed's coming out.
So speaking about Creed's coming out, we're talking about the DC slate that James Gunn released. We're not gonna do the video, but frack that. We're too cool for that, and we're way behind. But we are going to talk about the films and the TV shows like we did with the Phase 5 of Marvel.
But remember, we did do prior to this. We didn't know that when the video was dropping.
Yeah, we did it
prior to it. We did a bit of a speculation video on it too. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But now that we got the real stuff to react to,
let's talk about it. Okay.
Right. And I don't need to watch freaking James Gunn's face. He's spitting this crap at me. You know what I mean? Just give me this in a Twitter feed anyway.
I mean, that's how I get all my news, don't you?
Yeah, more or less.
All right. You want to start? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll start. You know what I mean? First thing announced. Superman Legacy.
Okay. I mean, all right. I guess it makes sense, but from what I gather from that,
it even has a date of 2025.
Really?
Yep.
July 11th, 2025. Interesting. Okay. And according to DC Studios' announcement, focus on Superman balancing his Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing. And I think you said this offline, CJ. We're talking over the phone. Isn't that Man of Steel?
Right. Because it totally is. Like, Man of Steel, like, what? He's got two dads, right? Like, in Man of Steel, and they're both prominent figures in his life.
Right.
His one dad, his human dad's like, "No, I feel this way about this, like, and you shouldn't do this," and blah, blah, blah. And then he's got Kryptonian dad, who's like, "Hey, listen, be hope and, be the shining example, blah, blah, blah," and, all that. They're giving opposite messages, but, like what? I mean, Superman is DC in some respects. So is Batman, but like in some respects, Superman is DC. So starting off with, Superman laying the groundwork down. I think it's smart. I I get wary of new Superman movies because I find Superman is like kind of very run of the mill, like kind of like and I think rightfully so. He's basically the first modern superhero. So like all the other superheroes kind of in a way balanced off of him.
Right.
So like but because of that, you know what I mean? You know, when you get to you know how hard it is to get younger people to watch older movies or older stuff, right? You know what I mean? Like there's this idea of, oh, I've seen this all before and I've seen this done better, you know what I mean? But it's like by the time you saw it, it's like the 70th iteration of what this was, you know what I mean? So they kind of perfected it, but in that it's like, well, that's how I feel about when I watch Superman, right? Like his origin, I find it really boring. You know what I mean? Like it's like if I'd never seen it, it'd be interesting, but it's like I find it so boring by now. Like this will be we've had a lot of versions of Superman, like but this whatever number version this will be when we get to Superman Legacy. You know what I mean? If it's another Superman origin story, there are just elements of that like I get tired of seeing. You know what I mean? I get tired of seeing like, okay, Krypton is gonna blow up. We warned you. We warned you. Why didn't you listen? All right, well, I'm gonna send my kid off to some other place. You know what I mean? Like, I get tired of seeing that. But he's landing. It gets raised by great freaking American people off in Kansas somewhere. You know what I mean? Like, it's like I get tired of seeing all these elements of Superman. I kind of want them like that's one of the reasons I liked Man of Steel so much because they kind of fast forwarded through a lot of the stuff that we're used to seeing, and then the stuff that we did see that we have already seen, we saw in different ways. Like we see Krypton, and there's like this whole war and crazy action scenes going on there. You know what I mean? And his first villain wasn't Lex Luthor. You know what I mean? It was like Zod, which is somebody who can match Superman physically, which I was cool seeing. Like I feel like there are a lot of things like, okay, well we got to get this again, and we got to build this again. Okay, we got to see him fight Lex again, which I know why people like it, but I don't know, man. It's just boring to me, right? Superman versus Lex is just boring to me, because you don't really get to see Superman like go all out, kind of a thing, you know. I don't know. You got thoughts on this upcoming Superman?
I mean, I'm a little bit weary because, like you said, we've seen it all before, and I've already seen it perfected in the first Superman movie. I think the first Superman movie with Christopher Reeve and directed by the late great Richard Donner was perfect. I'm like, this is the perfect Superman movie. This is the beginning of like superhero comic book movies, right? Like it took it seriously. And so with this one, I'm a little bit worried because I'm like, what am I gonna see that's new that I haven't seen already in the other movies in either the Christopher Reeve, Richard Donner, or the Henry Cavill? I'm like, I've already seen this origin. My grandma knows this origin, and she believes it, right? But I'm like, what can you tell me different about this man of steel? What can you tell me about this man that I haven't already seen before? Like what I haven't seen yet, and I want to see. I haven't seen him fight Brainiac. I haven't seen him fight Metallo. Like it's about his humanity, a Kryptonian, like upbringing, a struggle. I'm like, I get it. I have a stepdad. Like I know what that's like to being like, you're not my dad. I've said that before many times. He came back with, well, I paid for your food to wipe your ass. I'm like, all right, touche. Well said.
You were just saying like, and you just kind of brought to my brain like as you were just saying like, what I haven't seen him fight Brainiac, right? But I was just thinking like as you said that, as you were about to say that, I was like, wait a minute, insert like pretty much any Superman villain here, right? Like because see, we've
Yeah.
only seen him fight. Like we can change that statement to we've only seen him fight Lex Luthor and Zod, right?
Like live action, we've always exactly. And in Smallville, we saw him fight characters that he's already supposed to be fighting as Superman, and I'm like, what is this? But back to I'm like, all right. And I think Smallville did that great too. Smallville was perfect at like up until season 5 or 6. I forget when I stopped watching Smallville. But I just remember being like, this is a good show. Like about him being like, who am I? Am I man? Like Lana asks.
So what are you? Man or Superman?
I haven't figured it out yet.
I'm like, I got that reference.
Yeah.
I see what you did there. But man or Ubermensch.
All right, and see that goes back into like the little box where I check where it's like, what are you going to bring new to the table, right? Because if it's an origin story, guess what? I watched 10 years of a Superman origin story called Smallville. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, what are you going to do that Smallville hasn't done? Like, if we're gonna go that route, right? You know what I mean? What are you gonna show me about his origin that Smallville didn't already cover? You know what I mean? He spent 10 years freaking not being Superman in that in that freaking show. Like, or him discovering his powers, or like, you know what I mean? It's just the seventh, ninth version of a character like has big shoes to fill. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
but you know, when they can do stuff, when they can then bring something that I haven't seen, I do appreciate it just for that on some level. I know we had like our review video of like the Batman, and a lot of us were like kind of like talking kind of like mess about it, like, hey, well, we never. But like one thing that I will always like give the Batman credit for is like, it's like, here's the, I don't feel like counting it, so don't count me on this, but here's the ninth version of Batman that we've seen, right? Like, and it still managed to show me something in a Batman movie that like I hadn't really seen. It show me a version of Batman that hasn't been brought to the big screen before. You know what I mean? Can Superman Legacy do that? Is the question. Yeah.
That's a good question. I mean, I don't know what can be said or done. Like, I guess as a comic book fan, what I would like to see is the death of Superman. Maybe. I'm like, what does the world do in a world where it's full of superheroes, full of Superman? It's used to Superman. I'm like, well, frack it. Let's kill him. What happens to the world or the DC world when the true one, I guess the All Might DC.
Well, here's the thing. I don't feel like that's even breaking new ground because Zack Snyder did that. Like, for better or worse, he did tread that ground already. You know,
like for a movie, like,
I mean, he did it, and he in his Justice League explored what that meant. You know what I mean, too.
I forgot about that movie.
Yeah, I mean, because it's like
existed.
because here's the thing. Like, watching Zack Snyder's Justice League only taught me that Joss Whedon's Justice League is Zack Snyder's Justice League. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a shorter version of what Zack Snyder's Justice League is. Like, so freaking what he did, and we saw that in that Justice League. You saw that in that Justice League.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A world without Superman. Like, but and then if you watch Zack Snyder's Justice League, like I said, it's just a longer version of that movie. Like,
it's just prettier pictures. It's all it is. Like, it's all it really is. Prettier pictures. What Josh Whedon did is took it and made it like trim the chuffa, as Bruce Willis would say, trim the fat. There's so much stuff in that.
Exactly. Like, I don't even know why to be honest, like watching that, like, I don't know what Joss Whedon did exactly, like, on that movie, because it felt like he did, like, there were a couple of scenes that were added, right? But for the most part, he just ripped like an hour and a half out of Zack Snyder's movie. You know what I mean? Like,
dude, that scene where Flash is saving Iris West. I'm like, that's a beautiful shot. It's like 5 minutes too long. It adds nothing to the story or the characters. Why are we watching this? Why is this here?
Why do we watch anything, Renee?
Well, I watch porn to come.
Go frack yourself. Okay.
All right, next one.
I think next one. Oh, but the last thing the last point I want to touch about this. How do you feel because we don't have a director yet, but this is written by James Gunn.
I am weary because everything I've seen of his, it's always quirky, it's always weird, it's always kind of off kilter. It's very view askew. Like Kevin. It's very Kevin. Like, he's got a sound, got a voice, and it's fine. It's a fine voice, but I'm like, I don't want it to be too jokey. I want it to be a little bit like it's at the end of the day, it's Superman. Like, people around the world love him and respect him. Like, that S means something to people. Not to me, not really. I'm more of an X-Men, Daredevil, Wolverine, Spider-Man kind of guy. But Superman, it was my first superhero. Like, I remember the cartoon, so I'm like, I just want him to treat it seriously and with respect. Just treat the source material trilogy with like, yeah, you can have jokes and everything, but just treat it with respect.
Yeah, I feel you on that, man. Like James Gunn, like is a geek, and I love when a geek makes comic book movies, right? Like, but like you said, James Gunn has a definite voice, and I don't know that that voice fits Superman. I think it does fit Guardians very well. I think it does fit Suicide Squad very well. You know what I mean? Like, I think it fits a specific type of character very well. I don't know that Superman is that character, but it remains to be seen. Most James Gunn movies, I enjoy for the most part, but they're kind of hit and miss for me. Like there are things about them that I love, and then there are moments that like I'm like, I don't really care about that. No.
Like I keep forgetting Hero Scooby Doo, so I'm like, and I was never a Scooby Doo fan, but I'm like, oh, this is cute. But I'm like, okay, it's fine. It's fine. It's cool runnings. Um, like I've seen Guardians. Like I said in the past, they're great movies. I don't need to see them again. I've seen them once, but
Okay.
yeah, I'm still wary.
Number 2, The Authority.
What do you know about the Authority? I know nothing about the Authority.
I know barely anything about The Authority. I will read this little synopsis thingy they have here. Wildstorm characters will join the DCU as members of the Authority. The Authority take matters into their own hands to do what they believe is right. As I understand it, the Authority is similar to like the Boys.
Boys, yeah.
Basically,
It almost sounds like the Ultimate a little bit, just wild
kind
card
of
version.
like basically they're from they're from a property that wasn't originally a DC property, and the Authority was their take on the Justice League.
Right. Like,
And so now DC does own them, and so this is kind of like James Gunn, like, okay, well, I'm gonna put these into all right. So this is kind of something that's never been done, and in a sense, this is they're breaking new ground with the DC universe here, and they're doing it with the DC movie universe. So I do think that this will be interesting because they're like they're like a knockoff Justice League that doesn't that in the DC Comics universe do not coincide together.
right.
So this will be new. It gives me Kingdom like and that those two knowing those two facts, it kind of gives me like Kingdom Come vibes. Like how like in that story, I don't remember everything about that story, but I do remember Amanda Waller was trying to make her own government ran Justice League. Like, in case, the Justice League go rogue or whatever, and they just needed their brand of super soldiers. But this gives me Kingdom Come vibes. Like if you got this team and you got the Justice League, and they're like, no, we're heroes and we're going to do things our own way and like autonomous from the government or from any government, you know what I mean? Because like that crap's wrong or whatever kind of a thing. And then you got the Authority that can be the opposite coin of that, you know what I mean? So I think it's interesting. I don't know much about the Authority.
I just remember the first time I heard about the Authority, when I was reading comic books, and History Channel made a documentary about comic book, and it said how in the '90s, like it became like extreme, like big guns, big packs, big TNA. And I just remember being like, they're like the Authority, a group of Midnight and Apollo, like heavy, like gentle lovers, but like hard to knock fighters. I'm like, okay, that's cool. They're gay lovers, but like, I remember this. I remember that Wildstorm was Jim Lee's comic book imprint, and then he sold it to DC, and they brought it to DC version. I think that's how Jim Lee got involved with the DC publishing side of it, and kind of like head up the But yeah, I just know Brian Hitch was right, and Warren Ellis and Brian. I know those names. Warren Ellis and Brian Hitch were the co-creators. I know Brian Hitch from the Ultimates and Warren Ellis from Ultimate Fantastic Four. That's how because again, I'm a Marvel zombie, so I'm like, okay, well then, what did they write? And then what did they write for Marvel? And all right, let me go read some of their other stuff, and it's pretty good. But that's all I know about the Authority.
All right.
Let me see. Okay, the next one The Brave and the Bold. The DCU will introduce its Batman and Robin in this unusual father-son story inspired by the Grant Morrison comic series. So when I hear Brave and the Bold, I think two things. I think of the Batman cartoon that came out like in the mid-aughts. Or I think about like Barry Allen and Hal Jordan in the Flash comics. Because I remember when this was happening in the comics, it was called Batman and Robin, and it was Dick Grayson as Batman and Damian Wayne as Robin. So I was expecting that, but it seems like it's gonna be Bruce Wayne's gonna be the Batman. So I guess we're missing Skippy Bell for the Cal. I would like to see. I've always wanted to see a new Batman and Robin movie. Go ahead. Sorry.
Or it's the prelude.
Well, okay. Oh, fair enough. Or the prelude. Good point. I both wanted to see a new Batman because, like, the last time we got a proper Robin, was it '97?
Like, are you using the word proper or just?
Yeah, like an actual Robin. When we got a Robin in a Batman live action movie.
I got you. I'm just saying that word proper.
I mean, his name was Dick Grayson. He was
It was
Robin
Dick
outfit.
Grayson. His name was Dick Grayson.
His outfit was Nightwing, but his name said Robin.
his outfit said Nightwing, but his symbol said Robin.
I'm not counting the freaking the Dark Knight Rises. I'm like, no, that's not Robin. Like,
oh, you mean the cop named Robin?
I'm like, that is like the dumbest cop out ever. I'm like, no, frack you, Chris Nolan, and your pretentiousness.
What's your name? It's Robin.
It's a pretty name. You should use it more often. Yeah, why'd you do throughout the whole movie?
It's like if I was a cop, I wouldn't tell anybody my name is Robin either.
I'm excited because I'm like I haven't, like I said, like, we haven't seen Batman and Robin, and I guess we're getting Damian Wayne. I'm assuming we're getting Damian Wayne. There's nothing about it that says it's not Damian Wayne, but it says it is Damian Wayne too.
No,
So
I mean, no, he straight up said it's Damian Wayne.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yeah, he straight up said he didn't say it was Bruce Wayne that was Batman. You know what I mean? And I don't think anybody is speculating about that right now. Right? Like, I don't think anybody thinks that we're gonna get like Dick Grayson Batman right now. You know what I mean? With this, like, but I'm just saying, like, he said this is Damian Wayne's Robin, which was kind of like the point of that. That is like the stark difference of this. I think that's interesting because to what I was saying earlier, like, you know what I mean? We're like 7 iterations of Batman in. Again, a random number. I'm saying I'm not counting. we're freaking a bunch of iterations of Batman in, and the Batman showed us a Batman story that we haven't really seen before. So when I hear an announcement like this, I'm like, again, like, we have not seen Father Batman. We have not seen new daddy Batman, right? Like, a Batman who discovered he has a kid who is a freaking assassin, and Batman having to deal with that, right? Like, Batman having to deal with his son who's a freaking assassin, and, like, you know what I mean, and, like, now living with him and stuff now. Like, that is an interesting tale, and I think that their dynamic as Batman, Robin, and father son is very interesting. Like, I think their dynamic is very interesting, and in the right hands, like, it could be, you know, a pretty cool movie, I think.
I'm excited. I just wonder how people are going to react to it, being like, who is Damian Wayne? Like, where did he come from? And there's going to be a lot of it. I'm excited because I'm like, oh, there's more going on. I read a couple issues that run, and I liked it. Grant Morrison's a good writer. Sometimes he's very cerebral, but I think he's a good writer overall. Yeah, I'm excited for that one.
Now, I'll say this, that the only thing, and again, like this is years away, we don't know, what they're gonna do, but I feel like they're running into a similar. Do you remember? You remember the New 52
Yes.
when they came out? You remember
Mhm.
that they came out with New 52, or I don't know if it was New 52 or if it was the other one of the other reboots that DC did, where like they kind of did this relaunch, and it was like, all right, start from scratch. Um, here's like Superman from scratch, and here's Batman from scratch, but all the Robins exist, right? Like, so it's just like, I wonder if they're gonna run into the situation because we're about to get Superman Legacy, and like this is gonna be a connected universe. You know what I mean? He's bringing it to us as so chapter one, Gods and Monsters or whatever. Um, freaking. So we're gonna get a new Superman. We're gonna get a new Batman. Like, how long has Batman been at this? Because conceivably, if there's a Damian Wayne, there's also a Jason Todd, there's also a Tim Drake, there's also a Dick Grayson,
Right.
right? Like, how long has Batman been at this? You know what I mean? Like, freaking, has he been at this for a while? And like, Superman's just starting. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. It just seems an interesting place to start, and kind of weird. You know what I mean? Like, is Batman's world already fleshed out? You know what I mean? And it's just like we just have to meet these characters instead of like they're new. You know what I mean? Like there's
Mhm.
already Joker and Riddler and all these people running around, like, and we might just be lucky enough to meet them as he contends with them or something.
Right. That's a great question. I wonder. Yeah, that's a great question. That's kind of what I'm questioning too. Is like, How far are we going to be into this? Because we've already seen Batman versus Superman. We've already like. I wonder if they're gonna take elements. They said it's a clean slate, a tabla rasa, um, tabla rusa. Sorry. So I wonder if we're gonna pick things from the previous the Snyderverse and like, all right, we'll take this here, we'll take this here, we'll plug and pull from here. I mean, because it seems like the Flashpoint, it is Flashpoint. The Flash movie is kind of resetting everything. So I feel like that movie's gonna be we're gonna get Infinite Earths kind of thing. That's what I'm getting, right? So I wonder if we're gonna be getting some of that stuff, some of the DCEU stuff, some of like the Tim Burton verse stuff in sprinkled throughout this new DCU run.
But DC, like, they just go back and forth, right? Like
Yeah,
they have an event and it creates the multiverse. Then they have an event and it destroys the multiverse, right? Like, so the question is, which one will Flash do? Right? Like, will the Flash create the multiverse or will the Flash destroy the multiverse? You know what I mean? Like,
true.
and have all these elements basically suck. Because usually when it's destroyed, it's like all these elements from across the multiverse basically get sucked into one like new Earth kind of a thing.
Hmm.
Um, that has like basically traits of all of them, or I guess the coolest the coolest things they've created over the last 20 years.
Um,
Okay.
okay, go ahead. Next one.
Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow.
What do you know about
This
that? I know nothing about this.
I don't know anything about Tom King's run on it, which they're saying that this is based on. But let's see, this science fiction adventure, which will be based on Tom King's amazing war and recent stories, presents a Supergirl viewers are not used to seeing. One of the things that I know that James Gunn was saying was that, like, the difference between Superman and Supergirl. Superman was a baby that was sent to another planet and was raised by loving parents, whereas like Supergirl is a 16-year-old girl who had to watch everybody kind of die around
Mhm.
her. So it's like kind of just the difference in those origins. Like, one of the things I was talking to you like off camera about, like, the new speaking of the new 52 Supergirl focused on exactly that phrase that he was talking about. Like, no, like, her story isn't about hope, her story is like about what she lost. And so when she comes to Earth, she comes with like a chip on her shoulder, and it's like there are elements of it that are kind of like frightening. Like, all of a sudden, like imagine all of a sudden you are on an alien planet, you don't speak the language, like, and you and everybody, you don't speak the language, you're dressed like that planet's like strongest being, like strongest godlike being. Also, you have that the powers of that being. So people are frightened of you. There are people who are trying to kill you because they don't like Superman. And then there are people who are trying to kill you because you are causing mass damage. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like I found that like her story in the New 52 to be infinitely fascinating. You know what I mean? Because you have somebody who's kind of a fish out of water, but in the worst way. It's not like comedic. It's
Right.
like, holy crap, like I'm super powerful. Like she's kind of like destroying shit, you know what I mean? Like around her. And like because of that, she's just painting this target on her back and like making herself out to be like almost like a Hulk character. She's like a Hulk character rather than a Superman
Mhm.
character. So it's like you got like you got like somebody with the S on their chest, but like they're more viewed as like the Hulk. They're this strong, crazy, out of control, strong monster. You know what I mean? And it was kind of like it was something that was it was a really cool take on Supergirl. I thought because usually she's just like this carbon copy, like, and usually ill conceived, like just weaker version of Superman. You know what I mean? But this I thought kind of gave her like this edge to her, and I thought it was pretty cool. And this hearing this, the origin, hearing them talk about it, it could be like that. And if it is like that, like I'd be super into this. No pun intended.
I like what you did there. I'm excited. I'm interested. Like I don't know. I've heard Tom King. I heard Tom King's a good writer. I don't know what he's written. I've never again. I'm just getting back into comics again after I guess a 4 year, 5 year hiatus just because of the pandemic and not having jobs, not have money. So I'm like, I've been kind of like, what's good, and like, first of all, I'm always reading Marvel. Um, but I did read the new Dark Crisis Infinite Earth, like you said, so which brought back the multiverse. But I did hear Tom King's name a lot, so I'm gonna go and see if I can find that. Because this sounds awesome to start yourself. Like I've never thought of Supergirl like that. I've never thought of Supergirl being like, oh, I lost everything. Like I've never, because like you said, yeah, Superman is like hope and justice and the American way. Well, I don't think he does it anymore. But I'm like, Supergirl should be like not the antithesis of that, but like, well, I lost my family, I lost everything, and now I'm an immigrant. Like I guess, well, it's someone coming in from the old country to the new world. I guess Superman. I've always heard that Superman is an analogy for Moses, like
Right.
coming in from old country. Well, like this is even a better example because she still has the old country culture.
But she's more like a refugee.
Fair enough, true. I mean,
Yeah.
like Moses and Jesus. All right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. A refugee because she got nowhere else to go.
I got nowhere else to go!
Where's she
Right.
from?
And she like has nowhere to belong. Whereas like Superman like lost his world, but he never knew that world.
Exactly.
Like she grew up in that world and then lost it. You know what I mean? Like
True, and that's something I'm excited for. That sounds pretty cool. That sounds really dope. Why do I keep saying that? But I am excited for this. That does sound like a good time.
and
All right.
and she's supposed to have a sword.
What? Wait, a real sword or another kind of sword? A dirty kind of sword.
She has a sword, a real sword. And I mean in Tom King's run,
Okay.
got a sword.
Tomorrow when I go pick up my comics, I'll be like, "Do you guys have this like collection?" Either I don't care. Just I like good stories. All right. The next one is going to be Swamp Thing. The film will investigate the dark origins of Swamp Thing. How do you feel about Swamp Thing?
Not a fan.
Same. I'm not. I only have Swamp Thing because one of my friends gave it to me at one of my old jobs. I remember.
So I remember a show, right?
who I am. It is what I am. I was once a man. I know the evil men do. Do not bring your evil here. I warn you. Beware the wrath of Swamp Thing.
I remember
Is it a
there
show?
being a Swamp Thing live action series.
I don't remember that.
And like as a very young kid, I remember watching it sometimes. I remember some bad movies, and I remember watching those. But
I
that's
mean,
like,
the only thing I know about this Swamp Thing is that I'm excited that they're gonna do it's gonna be done by James Mangold. And for those who don't know, James Mangold, he's in the running to direct Swamp Thing, and he is the director of such films Ford v Ferrari, 310 to Yuma, The Wolverine, and Logan. I love all those movies, so I'm like, okay, I feel if last I heard he was in the running, he was talking in talks or negotiations to direct it.
you love Wolverine, the Wolverine.
I would be facetious. I'll two thirds of that movie. I love
I
two-thirds of
like.
the Wolverine.
Listen, I like the Wolverine more than most people. That's why. That's why I was just like, you love that movie. Like I
I
like it more.
love 2/3 of
But
that movie.
yeah. Like the last act is atrocious.
It's
But
atrocious. It's horrible. Um. Oh, so all I know about Swamp Thing is that, and I have a couple issues that my friend gave me from my other drive, and Kevin Smith won't shut up about him for a minute. Like, there's an issue where he goes to Batman City. He goes to Gotham City and is tracking down some woman or whatever, and Batman fights him off or whatever, like he does, as Batman one tends to do, fights off all kinds of creatures. But I'm like, I don't like. I guess it's more cerebral, more kind of like more introspective, more like a study of the human condition. I'm like, I don't want this in my freaking comic book entertainment. But it's James Mangold,
it's
so we'll see.
also it's supposed to borrow very heavily from the horror genre.
Okay, and I'm not a horror fan. I like being scared, so I'm probably gonna pass on this one.
Yeah, I wonder, like, I wonder really, like, what that kind of means. Like, how far are you gonna lean into this? Like, does horror mean R for you guys? Like, where is like, we know with Disney where the line lies because we grew up watching Disney movies, right? Like, we
Right,
know what feels like a Disney movie. So we know on some level how far or not far Marvel is gonna be pushed, right? Like,
right.
DC, like, we don't have that limit, right? Like, we don't have like they literally made a freaking Justice League movie where Wonder Woman chops a dude's head off. Freaking like you know what I mean? It's like there's no line. So it's like they literally like when he says horror, he could actually mean that this is a horror movie. You know what I mean? Like a straight up horror movie. They're WB, they're not Disney. Like they can just make a horror movie, a horror superhero movie if they want, you know?
I mean, would you count Constantine as a superhero, like a horror superhero movie?
I don't feel like that's a horror movie. I mean, but that feels like a superhero movie to me. But they didn't bill it as a horror movie. You know what I mean? He said this is gonna be a horror movie.
Yeah, I can't do horror. Like, I don't like being scared. Like, I just saw, I saw Cocaine Bear last night, and I saw trailers, like 3 trailers were back to back, like Evil Dead, and something else, and horror movie. Like, I don't like being scared. I don't like people scaring me. I don't want to watch. I don't enjoy it, so I'm not gonna see it. Now, if I was on a date, probably, but no, I don't. I don't like being scared. I don't like horror movies.
But see that's just what I mean. It's like, like James Gunn, what do you mean when you say horror movie? Like is superhero horror movie? Like what you just said, like is it Constantine level? You know what I mean? Like it's just horror inspired. Like, but this is, you know what I mean? This is more of a superhero movie. You know what I mean? Or action movie. You know, however you feel about Constantine. Or is it a horror movie? Am I watching freaking Insidious, like with superhero characters? You know what I mean? Like,
The
am I
Omen.
watching like The Exorcist or something? Obviously not there. It's Swamp Thing. You know, it'd be more of a monster affair.
Mhm.
But I mean that I don't know. I'm not super into Swamp Thing, but you know, I don't know. It could be cool.
I mean, I might. It depends how scary it looks, how much I can handle it.
I don't like gross things either, and Swamp Thing is pretty gross looking.
Like I don't like people getting chopped up or murdered. or gore. I like gore. I don't like gross things like Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom. That's kind of gross.
It's
I
good.
can deal with the psychological thriller. That I can deal with. Like Omen, I can deal with that. But it was just like the fact that it's Antichrist. I'm Catholic. I'm like 6, 7, 8 years old. So I'm like, oh my god, the Antichrist movie. And I was just like, so unless it's that, then I don't know if I can watch that at all. Swamp Thing
It's
into
over
Antichrist.
you, Swamp Thing.
Dude, who would name their parent? What parent in the right mind would name their kid Damien?
Bruce.
With that connotation, right? I mean, dude, and then Creed 3 is coming out, and the main villain is called it's also called Damien. I'm like, who would name the kid that? Who does that?
Okay.
Okay.
Creature Commandos.
I don't know anything about those mofos. What do you know about them?
I don't know. And like the only thing I know is that both Marvel and DC have a team like this. That is that is a team of monsters based on Universal's like classic monsters. Like I know
Marvel has
both
one of those?
Marvel, yeah, like there's Frankenstein's monster in Marvel. There's obviously
Oh, Dracula. Okay.
There's Dracula. But I remember that I forgot what their team is called in Marvel. What isn't it isn't it Nick Fury, the Howling Commandos? Isn't that like what that is?
That's a military group though, dude.
I think there's a version of Howling Commandos that is like monsters though. That is just like horror movie monsters.
It's not the Midnight Suns.
No, it's not. Well, maybe I know that there's a Marvel team of because they made a little freaking animated movie about it. It was like on Netflix or something, dude. Like,
Like,
Hulk.
I mean, there's Howling Commandos, but it's Blade, Doctor Voodoo, Hellstorm, Zatanna, Glob, and Gorilla Man. That sounds racist.
Anyway, like these characters that are basically public domain characters, like they exist in both Marvel and DC. And so
Okay.
when I see it, but obviously Marvel hasn't really done anything with their versions of it. The closest thing we got so far is Werewolf by Night. But I don't know, I'm cool with that. Like I'm cool with like a team of these style of monster characters. I don't know, like I like that. I like that idea. You know what I mean? Something like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen or something, right? Like all these old Victorian monsters together on a freaking super team. I'll take it.
Yeah. It's interesting. I don't know. Like, yeah. All right. It sounds very gimmicky. So I'm like, okay, I guess.
Agreed. It sounds James Gunny, which he's doing it.
Yeah, exactly. It does. It feels
But
very James Gunn. It feels like right up his value. It feels like if he's not writing it or directing it, I would be surprised.
yeah, I think he already said. I think he in the video in his where he's discussing the slate. He said he wrote and directed all the episodes.
Oh, did he? Okay. Is it like I thought it's animated or live action?
It is animated, and he also said that these characters will be. He said that we don't have a cast yet, but the voice cast of of the show will cross over into live action as the same actors.
Interesting. Okay. That's very, very interesting. So I guess that kind of confirms the live action project.
Or at least bleed over like with one or some of these characters.
Right. Okay.
So maybe if we don't get the whole team, maybe the whole team doesn't show up in a Justice League movie, but maybe we see freaking, I don't know, Frankenstein or more likely Weasel show up and but Waller's in it. So speaking of which,
That is the next show, right? That is the
Waller.
starring Viola Davis, the series feature team Peacemaker, and will be written by Crystal Henry, Watchmen, and Jeremy Carver, Supernatural.
So here's an interesting the most interesting piece of that sentence to me. Mm-hmm. The series features Team Peacemaker. Peacemaker, who a DC character, was introduced in James Gunn's directed Suicide Squad movie. Peacemaker, who has a series that is currently on right now. Viola Davis, who's been Amanda Waller, in both of those things will be Amanda Waller and going forward. Is Suicide Squad the first movie in James Gunn's DC verse?
I don't know
Like
because
he hasn't said, no one has said as such, right?
no one says
Let's
that.
be that clear. James Gunn has not said this. No one has said this or alluded to this. But just look at all these elements. Is this the first movie in James Gunn's universe? Like all these things are, you got Team Peacemaker. Like, what's to say that this story and Peacemaker continues from Suicide Squad? Like,
I
and
feel
they
we're gonna.
haven't like canceled the Peacemaker. What were you saying?
I feel we're gonna get some cast, like he said, some cast members are gonna like. Well, some of them died from Suicide Squad, right? Some of them kept over. I'm assuming
Yeah.
it'll all be answered in Flashpoint. The Flash, frack. It feels like to me because that feels like a very DCEU movie, though. It doesn't feel like a James Gunn verse movie. It feels like that movie's some part of DCEU, and it feels like this is just like, all right, we're bringing them back, but it's blank slate, tabula rasa.
Uh,
Boy, that's a
because I
good question. I don't maybe.
like I feel like Suicide Squad is different enough from everything we've seen, and it features characters that are far enough removed from the other people we've seen
Mhm.
that it could be, you know what I mean? It could be and not even matter, right? Like,
Mhm.
because it's not like they weren't in Metropolis; they were often freaking what South America or something, like
Yeah,
freaking some random freaking place fighting Starro. You know what I mean? Like some place that can easily be explained away as to why we've never seen it, you know, or never heard of that crap.
exactly.
Right.
All right, what is the next one? The next one is you, buddy. Oh, Booster Gold.
Booster
Booster
Gold.
Gold uses basic knowledge from the future to pretend to be a superhero in present day. I don't care about Booster Gold. I'm like, it better be a comedy. Like, I don't know what else, but like, unless it's gonna like subvert it and be like it's very dramatic. Like, what does it mean to be a hero? Booster Gold will tell you. Um, I mean, it sounds pretty. I didn't know that was a thing until because I remember. Do you remember Stanley? Just imagine Stanley, where Stanley created the DC universe. Like this is what I would have done if I created the DC universe, and that
Mhm.
was Superman's thing. Like Superman is a cop, but he is weak, one of the weakest cops, and somebody falls back in time, and you need to take it from the future. He's Superman in our
Yeah.
time. So I'm like, oh, Booster Gold. He did Booster Gold. So I just always remember being like, dude, I just always felt annoyed by Booster Gold as a character. Like he just grades me the wrong way. And none of that's
I think it's also I think it's supposed to be an annoying character. Um uh, I don't know. Like of all the projects, this is probably the one I'm the least interested in. I do think that his, I do think the idea of his origin is a good idea. Is a very interesting idea. I think it's a great idea. I think like in a world, like it speaks to me a world where full of superheroes, right? Like obviously somebody at DC made this, but it just sounds to me like okay, we've come up with everything else. What new can I come up with? Oh, what about somebody who's freaking from the future and like goes back in time just to be a superhero? You know, like that's what that sounds like to me. I think it's an interesting idea, but I'm not rushing to see it.
Yeah, I'm not interested in watching. I think didn't he show up in Smallville?
I don't know about Small. If he did, I didn't watch it that for that far. Um, but I know he was in Justice League Unlimited.
Yeah, he was. Alrighty. Moving on.
Yeah, this is the one that this is literally the only announced project that like hit me in a way that got me excited, and that would be Lanterns. Um, this enormous TV event series follows intergalactic cops John Stewart and Hal Jordan as they uncover a dark mystery.
So I'm excited. Here's the thing. I love everything about that except one freaking name. One name. And that name is Hal Jordan. I am so sick and tired of Hal Jordan. I don't like Hal Jordan. I don't know why he's brought back. He's the least interesting of the Green Lanterns, in my opinion. I would prefer either Kyle Rayner or Jessica Cruz. Why? Because they're Mexican. But I love John Stewart's my Green Lantern, and Kyle Rayner was the Green Lantern I was reading when I was reading comics. When I got to comics, so I just don't like Hal Jordan, and I know it's the reason why they brought it back was because Jeff Johns is a Hal Jordan fan. I'm like, can we? Anywho, like John Stewart every day, all day, every day. Make my GL John Stewart. But this is
I'm all about John. I think it's interesting. I wonder what, because they describe this as like a kind of a cop drama. What's his name? James Gunn said something akin to true crime.
True Detective.
What'd you say?
True Detective.
True Detective. Yeah, right. True Detective. True Detective. True Crime is a video game. True Detective. I'd be fine if this was like Lethal Weapon or something. You know what I mean? Like just the buddy cop, opposite methodology to solve the crime or something like that. They did say that it's something that's on Earth, which I find interesting. Two space cops having a reason to like solve a mystery on Earth.
Rewrite history.
It's like, what'd you say?
Or rewrite history.
Or rewrite history.
That's something that bugs me too. I'm like, I think we talked about this offline.
Mm.
Earth Space Sector 2814, I believe is the right sector, has 7 lanterns. Hal, Guy, John, Kyle, Simon, Jessica, and the teen one. 7 lanterns. Why do we have 7 lanterns on Earth? Why do we need 2 lanterns?
Where are all these rings coming from? Number one, don't they go to the closest person with great will, right?
Yes, dude, exactly. So I'm like, where are the other sectors? Like, here's a story for you for DC. Maybe someone gets jealous about Earth having all these Space Sector 2814 or whatever, having all these lanterns and be like, maybe we should kill off the lanterns, Earth lanterns, and just have one, or maybe destroy that sector. I don't know. Just a story. Because why does that sector need so many freaking lanterns?
And it like, especially like one of the things like that like kind of hit me with that, with like there being so many freaking Earth Green Lanterns. It's like, but you guys introduced an entire rainbow of colors now. Like they don't all have to be Green Lanterns. Like there can be different freaking all these. They can all have a different color. Like, you know what I mean? Any of these lanterns can all have a different color. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be interesting if they had a good Fear Lantern, right? Like we haven't even seen that. Like
I think in the comics, I think Scarecrow and Batman were part of the Sinestro Corps.
Interesting. But was that a good thing? Was that a good thing? Or were they like villains?
I don't remember. I don't know what their oath is, but I'm assuming they use fear as their weapon, and which makes sense.
Because it's like I get why like that makes you a good bad guy, right? Like I understand why most Fear Lanterns would be bad guys, but like I do think it'd be an interesting, like, because their whole model is power, right? Like fear brings power. What if somebody was like that, but like wanted, you know what I mean, wanted to do good things with that, you know? But
yeah, no, that would be awesome. Like that would be great.
But anyway, I mean, we're just talking about like why there's so many freaking Green Lanterns on Earth. But yeah, I'm super interested in this. Green Lantern was like one of my first favorite superheroes, not any longer, but was one of my first favorite superheroes. I think that his power set is awesome. You know what I mean? I think it's really cool, and I'm interested to see, like, especially like live action, like being that we have yet to really see them go crazy with Green Lantern visuals. We got one movie, and that's one person's interpretation, right? Like, so like cool. Like, show me another Lanterns. The series is coming out, another live action. Let's see another. What you guys think Green Lantern's abilities look like?
Me? Sorry, I don't mind me. I don't know. I wonder if we're gonna see Lanterns be like like we saw in the Green Lantern movie with Rider, like him, like physically seeing a big fist or cars. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, because I remember in the Justice League cartoon, he used it mostly as a shield or as a bubble or as like laser beam, laser blast. I'm like, that
Mhm.
would be cool. But it is such a cool power, but it's also so weird to. I remember trying to explain it to someone and being like, "This sounds so stupid saying it out loud." But if I show it to you, it's pretty cool, right? But if I say it, I'm like, so I don't know how they're gonna do it. Um,
I do think it'd be interesting to see a difference in style, right? Because essentially the ring is limited only by their imagination. So
yeah,
we got two Green Lanterns. I do think it'd be interesting to see that personified with the constructs that they make.
and
Yeah.
I remember that was the thing they said in the comics was that because Kyle was an artist, Kyle was a comic book artist or an architect or something like that. His style was like boom, boom, boom. I could always like do these little. He would always come up with his structures were always the most
Creative.
creative, and well constructed too, because he was like,
Mm.
so yeah, that would be cool to see. Like yeah, different styles. Because like I mean, the only thing we have to go off of is the Ryan Reynolds movie, and I think it's Ryan Reynolds, but I'm like, I felt rushed too.
Right. And it's like he doesn't, but see with that, like I feel like this has a better chance for you to see like different actual personified different styles. Because
Mhm.
whereas like the Ryan Reynolds movie, this is him just kind of learning how to do it. And this is Hal. And is it Hal or is it just like is it a mixture of Hal and other Green Lantern inspired characters? You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
but this will be more maybe more comic accurate, but and if not comic accurate, then like at least it'll follow a unified vision. Maybe we'll only see like shields and like bullet type things from John because he's a soldier, you know what I mean? So it's just like a very point blank this and that, you know what I mean? And then we'll see I don't know goofier crap out of Hal, I don't know.
I can't. Nope, I'm not gonna say that. Alrighty. But yes, this is the one I'm the most excited for. Is this one Lanterns? Because I remember they pitched that a while ago, like a couple of years ago. I'm like, okay, I want to see that, and the fact it's gonna be kind of serious, kind of like I guess, kind of like a cop show, buddy cop show.
Hmm.
Lethal Weapon with lanterns.
Listen, I that would excite me more than hearing the True Detective line, to be honest. Like Lethal Weapon.
Alrighty. Paradise Lost. Set in Themyscira, home of the Amazon and birthplace of Wonder Woman. This drama focuses on the genesis and political intrigue of an island of all women. All right, so I'm not a Wonder Woman fan. I'm nothing against Wonder Woman. I like history, but if I want to see a history show, I'll watch the History Channel. You know, like I don't like Paradise Lost. It's a cool title. I get what he's referencing. That show or that book from like goes about the rebellion between the angels and the rebels, like fighting for peace of earth. Oh, I get it. That's smart. That's I see what you did there. That's where we get from Hell's Heart, Stab at D. Um, I don't like it. I mean, Paradise Island, Paradise Lost, like Themyscira. How much of it's going to be like? I want to like. Why are we getting all these prequel shows? Like we got Krypton, which was about Superman's grandpa. We got Pennyworth. We're getting Gotham, which is all about everyone but Batman. We're getting this one. It's about Wonder Woman's mom and whatever. I'm like, I want to see a Wonder Woman show. I don't want to see how this came to be. Like, I guess it seems kind of in the vein of Game of Thrones, and for me, that's a turnoff. I do not give a frack about that show. I couldn't get into that show. Um, Now, am I gonna watch it? Probably, I'm gonna watch it, but I'm just like, this is something that is like the lowest of my. Like, I don't need to watch this. I don't want to watch this. Like, why do I need to know how Paradise came to be? Right? Like, I mean, I can't think of a good pitch or log line that would be like, all right, this is what we need to see. Because I know some of the history a little. Because again, I like Greek mythology. Like some of it was that yes, there was a tribe of women who Hercules had to fight, but like I mean, I don't like because like they were being abused by men or they kind of kept men at bay or whatever. I'm like, it's something that I'm like, I don't like origin shows about characters. The main characters, like, I don't want to
Like
see
I know what you're
this.
saying. Like I have, in order for me to want to watch a show like this, I have to be a super fan of the original thing. Um, and even then, like I can tell you right now, like, will I watch Paradise Lost? That will depend entirely on how I feel about whatever the current state of the DC movie universe is. So whenever this comes out, if I am all about James Gunn's DC universe, I will probably watch this show because it's like will fit into that story that they're telling, and if I find everything else around it like compelling enough to put me into this, like the only one that I heard that I know I'm gonna watch because the pitch got me was Lanterns. That's the only project that James Gunn has announced right now that I know I will be watching. I will be watching Lanterns. Will I be watching Superman Legacy? I don't know. Show me a trailer. Right? Like, will I be watching like any of this other stuff? I don't know. Show me a trailer. Like, maybe I'll watch it. You know what I mean? Like, but nothing is like reaching out to me. Like, I'm Paradise Law. Like, I've heard nothing but good things about Peacemaker. I still haven't watched that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care to like just like just like Paradise Lost. I'm not interested. I don't know why I would come to watch a Wonder Woman show that's not about Wonder Woman. You know what I mean? And I'm only kind of into Wonder Woman anyway. Like, but I like Wonder Woman though. I like Wonder Woman enough to watch a Wonder Woman show, but this a Wonder Woman like, and it's not even about like an origin story of Wonder Woman. You know what I mean? It's the origin story of Themyscira, like as a whole, right? It's like the genesis of an all female. Like, so like they're gonna be living with men when they start this, right? Like they're gonna be living with men because it's the genesis of it.
Yeah,
Maybe, or at least there'll be interaction with men. You know what I mean? Still,
I don't know. Like, out of all the things we've seen so far, the only one I'm excited for about is Lanterns. Out of all this, like, I'm like, Superman of Steel or Superman Legacy. Yeah, probably gonna check it out because it's Superman. But I don't. Again, I'm not. There are only so like with the DC universe. When the Batman came out, I'm like, the only thing you guys could do that would excite me for a Batman movie is do Batman Dark Knight or Batman Beyond. I don't know what other story you can say with Batman that hasn't been said already cinematically. Maybe team ups. You know, Batman and Spawn, like we do in the comics. Batman Daredevil, which will never happen in my lifetime.
you could kill
But
him.
but yeah, yeah, I don't know. I don't know, lad.
Yeah.
Final comments, final thoughts. Those were my final comments, my final thoughts.
It's just the DC universe has needed so long somebody to helm it, someone to head it up and be serious about it, take it seriously, and just go forward with it. Like when they announced this for James Gunn, like I looked at it like hesitantly, you know what I mean? And I've already said my thoughts on it. I'm not gonna beat a dead horse with it. Like I feel weary about James Gunn running DC, but it can't be worse than what we got before. You know what I mean? Like, at least this will be unified. And it's just like, all right, we'll just give him a chance. Let him do his thing. For better or worse, it will be a unified vision. And maybe we'll get an interesting story. He says stuff like a 10-year plan. You know, it's like, all right, well, listen, I like good stories. You know, I like superheroes. If your superhero movies are cool, like I'm all about it. DC, you know, I don't dip into DC that much, but they have some cool characters. You know what I mean? Like they have some characters that haven't been done justice yet. Can I please get the Flash recasted, please? That's all. That's all I'd like. Can that please happen? Um, But beyond that, you know what I mean? I don't know. Just show, like I said, but about the other stuff. Just show me a trailer. We'll see what your Superman is. What makes your Superman unique and different? What makes your Batman unique and different? Right? You know what I mean? Not just another Batman and Robin from '90s, right? You know what I mean? Like not just a rehash. Yeah, we all love Christopher Nolan, but like we don't want to see that again. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like we don't want to see those three movies again. If you're gonna show Batman, like we have those movies, and if your movies aren't up to par, we're gonna judge you based on those movies. You know what I mean? We're gonna, no, you're not the freaking Dark Knight. You know what I mean? Like, no, you're not Batman Begins. You're not, this other thing.
You're not Tim Burton's Batman or Batman Returns.
Exactly. You know what I
You're
mean?
not Richard Donner Superman.
Exactly. Like, so just do it just like what you said before. Just respect the property. You know what I mean? Like, just respect the property, and it really should just work out fine after that. Like, respect what you're doing, and it's fine. Like I remember saying, and I don't want to turn this into a freaking rant tangent, but like, because I know there are a lot of fans of of Titans, the show, right? But I remember watching season 1 of Titans and being like, this doesn't feel like this came from somebody. I can't believe that DC put this version of this out. You know what I mean? Like, put this version of this, and this is the definitive live action version of the Titans. Like, this is how you guys feel about this property? I don't know. I didn't feel like it came from someone who respected their property.
I saw a couple episodes. I'm like, this is someone who doesn't know the source material or cares for them. They're like, here's the names and here's a little bit like the Wikipedia did. I'm like, okay, cool. Here we go. I'm like, it's kind of like in name only. I feel.
Mm,
Doom Patrol though was really good. I need to finish Doom
I
Patrol.
agree. Doom Patrol. I feel
I've already
I
finished season
like
1.
Doom Patrol. I like Doom Patrol about as much as I hate Titans.
Yeah, I feel you on that. Whoa, what happened there? Anywho, I will. Yeah, it feels good as a comic book fan. I'll say I am a DC fan because that's what I grew up with: the Batman, the Superman movies, the cartoons, and Batman '66. So I'm like, yeah, I guess DC was my first introduction. But I'm like, as a DC fan, I'm like, it feels nice to have some sort of like, all right, this is where we're going. But they've been saying that for the past 10 years or 15 years, every 2 to 3 years. Like, here's our plan. This is do that again. This is where we're going. So I fool you me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
The only reason I'm laughing is because it's like, how many DC movie slates have we gotten that had this Flash movie on it?
Yes, dude. Yes, like this is the only thing that has stayed the same since those like we had a Cyber movie coming out, we had a Green Lantern movie coming out. That was Went Away, came back. But the only thing that stayed, you're right, is this Flash movie.
This Flash movie.
Alrighty. So I guess that's our final comments, final thoughts. Thank you for joining us, CJ. Thank you for dirting out. We'll see you same fracking time, same fracking channel. Frack off.